Hi, I'm Brittany Wilmore, and welcome to Is It Art Yet? For the next 30 minutes, consider this set the classroom and the show a lesson taught by an instructor in fine arts. My guest is someone who has rocked the stage at a number of music festivals, is a YouTube sensation, and has captured the attention of late-night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel. How? By using sign language to interpret music. What we're doing today is looking at how that skill is an art. Please welcome HCC Sign Language instructor Amber Galloway Gallego. And I also want to mention that our interpreter for the show is Audrey Reyna. Amber, welcome.
Hi.
So tell me a little bit about yourself to get started.
I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas, and I've been teaching here at HCC as an adjunct instructor for about 7 years now.
And how did you get involved with American Sign Language? Is this something that you always wanted to do?
Actually, no. I did not want to do this. I kind of fell into this and was encouraged to become an interpreter by the deaf community. I was raised around deaf people pretty much all my life since I was 5, and they're the ones that really encouraged me. I was going to school for physical therapy at a community college in San Antonio, and I was trying to get into a really hard program, and I didn't get in, and it was crushing. It was terrible. But I had a friend named Candy, and she said, "You have to become an interpreter." And I said, "No, I don't want this. I don't want this part. This is not a career for me." And she's like, "You're natural at it. You get this. You have to do this." So I said, "Okay, fine. I'll test it out. I'll test the waters." So I went over to San Antonio College for 1 semester, and I fell in love. And the irony of it all is that I get to sometimes be a physical therapist on certain appointments. So if there's a deaf consumer that needs physical therapy, I get to go be the interpreter, which actually, interprets that information from a physical therapist.
So now this is something that you teach at HCC. How has it been sharing this with students?
Oh, I love teaching. It's kind of my passion. I didn't realize that I was going to be a teacher. I never thought, oh, I'll be an instructor at a college one day. But again, that same woman who told me, you have to become an interpreter, she said, you have so much life experience and you've done so much for our deaf community. Why don't you become an interpreter instructor? And I said, no, that would be terrible. I'm too rough around the edges.
And coming from personal experience, I know you shared with me that you have partial hearing loss.
Yes.
So how does that affect the job that you do, if it at all? Do you feel a little bit more of a connection or a need to do this?
What's interesting is that it's changed my social life more. I was always around deaf people, and I've been married to deaf people and divorced from deaf people, and I have many, many deaf friends, but I realize what a loss is and how it feels to not understand. And so that's why I really strive to teach that to interpreters, to tell them how important it is that they're as clear as possible, that they do a good job, because these are humans and these are humans' lives that you are messing with if you don't do a good job. So I try to instill a lot of values in them in that way.
What are the different types of hearing loss? Because I think a lot of times we assume, well, can't that person just get a hearing aid? Or right. So what are the different levels?
There's several different levels that you can have. You have severe, and it's called profound to mild to, I'm trying to remember the 3 categories. But what happens is that people think that a hearing aid or a cochlear implant is a quick fix. So I put my hearing aids on and I still can't hear. Everything's amplified, but I still have to read lips. I depend on reading lips a lot. And a lot of people also believe that all deaf people can read lips, and this is not true either. Because based off of how much hearing they have, doesn't mean that it's actually going to be intelligible. So sometimes the speech is not intelligible, no matter if you have a device on or not. I wear my hearing aids and I get very frustrated because it amplifies not only the people's voices around me, but all the background music or the noise. And so I do have a heightened sense of paranoia whenever I have to interpret for men, because the low tones I don't get, because I have about 45 dB loss on one ear and about 47 on the other, and that's just mild hearing loss right now, but I'm afraid that it's going to get worse. And so it does make me really scared whenever I can't hear things. I can hear women, but I can't hear men as much, so I do get worried.
Well, one of the things that got you recognition on a national stage like Jimmy Kimmel is your music interpretation.
Yes.
So how did you get involved specifically with that in the first place?
Well, I always have music on all the time. I was raised with music. I connect with people through music. All of the relationships that I've had in my life, what's interesting is each person has their own genre of how I know them or how I've been exposed to music is through those people. And so I connect emotionally to the music that way based off of my life experiences. And so I was at my house and we were having a big party and I started interpreting a song. And my friend was like, "What was it? What's going on? What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm interpreting the song." And she was deaf. And she said, "I've never seen music like that. Interpreters don't look like that." And I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You got to move. That's the whole point of music." And so I showed her how I was doing everything and showing her the meaning of the music because it's based off of concepts. And she said, "I've never seen music like that." And I said, there's something going on. So then I also saw the San Antonio Deaf Dance Company. And when I saw them perform and these deaf kids, just amazing, the beautiful signs on stage, what they were doing, that inspired me to say, okay, hey, wait a second. Music is not only for the hearing, it can also be for the deaf people too. So that's what kind of inspired me and made me do what I'm doing now.
How could this skill be considered an art form? Because I think music is like, okay, that's a fine art. We know you can be creative and show expression through that. But what about this particular side of it?
The thing is that a lot of people think that interpreters, if you're an interpreter, you can do this, but that's not necessarily the case in a lot of situations. You have to understand music, but you also have to appreciate music and appreciate all genres of music. Because I think that if you love just one genre, it limits you. And the way that you have to show music is really important because it has so many layers to the language. And we don't just love the music based off of the words. We love how it sounds when it comes into our ears, how it feels on like each way that a person has a specific tone, how they change it, how they draw out different words. That's what we fall in love with music. And I don't think that a lot of interpreters pay attention to that, so they're very unsuccessful interpretations, and therefore it doesn't represent the artist. And so I definitely believe it is an art, and it's something you have to practice. I mean, I practice it all the time, and I'm constantly trying to do better and be better so that I can effectively show those musicians.
All right. Well, up next, no song is the same, and neither are Amber's music interpretations, just like she was mentioning. She'll show us how she does them. Stay tuned.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Welcome back. Amber Galloway Gallego makes performances come alive for people who are hard of hearing and even those who are not by using her entire body to interpret music in a whole new way, in a way that I have never seen before. How do you do this?
With a lot of research. There's a lot of work behind it. So I research the artist. So first what I typically do is I'll pull up the music because I want to hear how they're going to say certain words and also just the beats so that I can start hearing the beats. And so then I go and watch her music videos because sometimes that'll tell information on what the song is about. And then I go to the message boards. And I also try to read as many articles as I can on the band to find out who they are, where they've come from, because sometimes their information will seep into lyrics and then it'll identify certain places and certain music that I can actually pinpoint to that like historical marker in their life, or that one place that they've talked about their whole life in that city, that historical marker can come up in the lyrics. So then I can make sure I represent that, because I want to make sure I am going to represent the artist, but at the same time leave some leeway for the interpretation as well, so that your deaf clients or your deaf concert goers can be just like hearing people, where the hearing people don't really know the lyrics unless they've studied it. Your hardcore fans are always going to study it, and that's one of the best places to find information, like message boards and stuff, because I mean they have already taken all of the information. They have lyrics up, they have A to Z on the band members, and so that's where a lot of the information comes from that I use.
You have a YouTube channel where you post several different types of songs that you've interpreted, and one of them that I found was Fancy,
Yes,
by Iggy Azalea, which is a rap song.
Yeah.
So how is that different? How do you make something like that original compared to a different type of music? Like, talk about that song, for example.
For Fancy, it was more about seeing her mannerisms. A lot of times I like to take on the mannerisms of the performance and of the singer. And so I will show that performer, and then I will show how they actually perform the song. And then also with rap, you have to have shorter signs. They're more truncated signs than drawing certain things out. Like Celine Dion, if I said, you know, I'll love you, my love would probably be drawn out for 10 seconds versus her saying, you know, love, where it would be more truncated. You know what I mean?
You've also done Selena, which was Bitty Bitty Bum Bum.
Bitty
I
Bitty
can't
Bum
sing,
Bum,
but I love that song.
Yes.
What was it like for you to do that one? Because now we have more of a Spanish flair.
I'm from San Antonio, so I have a lot of Latino, you know, inspiration. But I love Selena. I got to meet her before she passed.
Oh, wow.
When I lived in Roswell, New Mexico, at a rodeo, and so I got to meet all of her band and everything like that. So she meant a lot to me in my life. And one of my dearest friends, Michelle, she's the one that said, you have to listen to this girl, and she's is the one that introduced me to her. So my connection to Selena is with the love and the friendship that I have from my friend Michelle. And so when I connect with artists, a lot of times I connect with my friends and my family.
Do a little preview of the songs that you have planned for today, because
Okay.
you're doing 4 different songs and they are 4 different genres.
Yes.
So if you could real quick just explain each one.
Sure. The first one is Say Something. And the Say Something, I think it has to have a lot of emotion on your face more so. And the tone of the song is very sad. And so I wanted to make sure that when I interpret that song, that it evokes emotion. It's only a 1-minute clip, but I wanted to connect emotionally to it, because that's what that song does. When I first heard it, I started to cry. So I want deaf people to also have that same feeling. The next one was Turn Up for What? Is it Turn Down for? I always mess that one up.
It's Turn Up.
I think it's Turn Up. Turn Up for What?
I can't be sure either.
And so that one is just a fun one, but it actually has a deeper meaning, because the song actually means, like, let's party all the time, let's drink it up, but let's also dance and party the night away. And so you can interpret that several different ways. So just because the words stay the same doesn't mean that the meaning stays the same. You can change it throughout the song. The next one is Daft Punk's Around the World. And that's another thing. Around the world, that can mean so many different things. So if you hear around the world, what comes up for you if you hear that saying?
Travel.
Travel. So what kind of travel?
Going to France.
Going
Italy.
to France, Italy. Yeah, so how are you going to travel?
Airplane.
Airplane. Could you also travel around the world on a boat? You could also travel around just walking around that country, and that can be worldly for you. So you see, all of those are different interpretations, and nothing is just the same, but yet the words are the same. But you can show each one of those, because whenever I hear it, I think travel around the world, I'm going to Paris, I'm going to France, I'm going to Italy, I'm going all those places, so you can show that in the lyrics. And the last one is System of a Down. And it's called Chop Suey. And the reason I love that one is, first off, my kids loved it when they were growing up. And I love to also show hard music like that. But the reason that I show that one is because the information, that interpretation is so loose because it could mean about the crucifixion. Yes, thank you. Crucifixion of Jesus. But it also could mean the war, and it also could mean addiction to different drugs. It could also mean abuse. It has so many different interpretations of it, so you almost have to go with what connects to you in that song.
Well, what we'll do is actually see you perform these different things. You just heard the explanation for all of them, so be watching to see if you can pick up on the different nuances. Amber's going to do all 4 of those different types of genres.
Say something, I'm giving up on you. I'll be the one if you want me to. Anywhere I would have followed you. Say something, I'm giving up on you. And I'm feeling so small. Turn down for what? Turn down for what? Turn down for what? Another runner shot, fired and loud. Another runner shot, fired and loud. Another runner shot, fired and loud. Another runner shot, turn down for what?
Kids will spend 8 minutes decorating their little brother.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
A single ember from a wildfire can travel over a mile. You can't control where it will land, only what happens before it does. Visit fireadapted.org to learn how to protect your community from wildfires.
We've been learning about music interpretation from HCC instructor Galloway Gallego. She captivates her audiences by using sign language and creativity. But sometimes services like interpretation aren't available for those who need it, or those services are inadequate. And a recent example was last year when Nelson Mandela passed away, and at his funeral, a fake interpreter was called out.
Right.
So what can we take away from this? Because someone like me who's maybe watching it at first is like, oh, okay, yeah, he's signing. Further watching it though is like, no, he's not doing the right things.
Right.
So why is it important that we don't just look at this and forget about it? What can we take away from it?
I think what it did is that actually showed the world that there are people that can fool you, especially the hearing world. The unfortunate thing is that a lot of hearing people don't listen to the deaf. And the deaf community are who are the loudest voice of who the interpreters should be. And actually they've been complaining about that person posing as an inadequate interpreter for years. And nobody did anything about it because the hearing people just listen to those people, or they go into a bidding war sometimes. And they find the cheapest rate, the cheapest person, that's what they're gonna stick up there. But see what happens when you go for cheap, you get cheap. You get people who are not qualified. That's also a thing that has happened in our community often, is that agencies, venues, those kind of things will always look for the cheapest rates for interpreters instead of quality and actually listening to deaf people. It's their language, they're a part of the community, the interpreters are out there in the community. We need to listen to them. Hearing people need to listen to the deaf. So when a deaf person requests a specific interpreter, it's because they already know what that interpreter is capable of and what that interpreter is going to bring to the table, versus a cheaper rate for an interpreter that might not even be certified, might not even be qualified. So I think it's really important that even though it was a bad situation, turned the light on the deaf community, and also a heightened awareness on how we have to pay attention to what the deaf community wants and stop ignoring them. And that's what's been really unfortunate, is that we have ignored the deaf community for too long, and their voices need to be heard.
How are the deaf discriminated against?
Many times, just from my own experience, fighting for interpreters, just for going to the doctor. They'll call 15, 20 doctor's offices when they're sick, trying to find access just to go to the doctor, just like you want to go to the doctor. If you get a cold, you want to go in, they'll call and say, hey, I need to get a doctor's appointment, and they'll say, okay, well, I need an interpreter. I'm sorry, we don't do that here. I'm sorry, we're not accepting new patients. All of a sudden, first they're accepting new patients, then in the next 5 minutes, once they realize that there's going to be a cost, they're going to discriminate against them and say, no, I'm sorry, we can't take that because we're not accepting new patients. But at the same time, deaf people, I know several of my friends that have PhDs that cannot find work because employers look at them as an added cost instead of as another valuable human of what that human can provide for their company. And there is a language barrier, I understand that, but interpreter services are a tax write-off. Once you start using them, you get used to them, and you realize how amazing the deaf community is and how hard of workers the deaf community has out there, and potential workers out there for your companies. Just give them an opportunity and a chance to show you what they can do, because a lot of times they're more dedicated. You know, years ago they used to talk about how in like the printing press, how all of them were deaf workers because they didn't socialize a lot. They went to work, got their work done. It wasn't about like being distracted by a whole bunch of other things that we get distracted by as hearing people.
What are some, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay.
Well, I was thinking about that and what you were saying. What are some of the ways that we can get involved in the deaf community more right here in Houston?
Well, we have deafnetwork.com. and it has a list of all the events in the Houston area. And there is socials every month, usually on the first Friday of every month. It's in a different bar. But then there also is Deaf Coffee Chat. There's also, they have church services every Sunday at Woodhaven. It's an all-deaf church off of Long Point, I believe. It's close to Memorial City. Everything is in sign language there. They have a huge community of people there. And they also offer sign language classes there, so if you want to get out to learn some sign language, they offer it there. But there's also several different venues that provide sign language socials every month. Like Starbucks is really good about it, and so is some of the different restaurants. They'll host deaf events for the deaf community.
Outside of being an ASL instructor, what is One Stop for ASL?
I have a new website. It's called One Stop for ASL, and it teaches ASL online. And it's still in the rough stages because I still need to get some work because it's been me doing the whole thing. And I also have my other company. It's Amber G Productions, and that's actually One Stop is under that, and I provide music interpreting all over the United States.
All right, so you're actually going to show me some of that, and I just want to say real quick that I love what you did during the demonstration portion because you were actually playing the guitar and the keyboard, and you literally use your entire body to interpret. Have you had feedback of people saying thank you, you know, for bringing those instruments alive? It's like you're literally like an artist. Well,
a lot of times they don't realize that everything is purposeful. I don't just automatically play an air guitar just to play an air guitar. I actually, one of the parameters, which is one of the rules to the language, just like how you cross your A's or dot your I's, when I actually make a specific mouth movement, it's actually using a tone, and it actually tells the deaf person whether that noise is high or low, and it shows the different tones. And so everything that I'm doing, like did you see when I played the piano up here, that makes it higher, so that you can actually hear the sound here on my hand because you're seeing it match up with what you're hearing, that high tone versus the low. Or sometimes, like if I do bass guitar, I do a real deep good thing like this, and I'll look like this, and I'll go boom, 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 because that's what it sounds like. It's considered onomatopoeia in English, but we also consider that onomatopoeia in ASL as well.
What are you showing me how to do?
Okay, I think we were trying to find an easy song.
Yes.
So I thought it would be cute to do We Are Family, because I think that if we look at the root of all humans, we are family, we're all humans, and we should all have access and equality. And hopefully, if you've watched this segment, you realize that a deaf person who's calling out to your agency, they just want access as a human. And I think that that's our right as other humans to provide that. And deaf people have that right. So let's do We Are Family. All right, so first let me teach you some signs, okay? So this is the sign for we. So here comes here. On the other side. There you go, and you come out.
Okay.
We, okay? And then you can also do like this. That also means everybody. Okay. And then family. This is a sign for family.
Family.
Make F's. Yep. And it starts with your pinkies together, and then it closes like a group. There you go.
Okay.
Okay. And so that's what you're going to do. You're going to be my backup singer.
All right. Well, we'll do that to close out the show.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye, and thank you so much for joining us. And you can watch us do We Are Family.
Yes.
All right.
Awesome. Okay. And remember to get into it.
Get into
feel
it. Move my body.
Yes. Move your body. Here we go. If it'll play. There we go. There you go. Do this guy. There's.
We are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing. We are family. I got all my sisters with me. giving love.